And Labour say they will create 650,000 jobs with their green investment plans as they begin this week's election campaigning on the economy.
But Labour are still under pressure as they repeatedly refuse to scrap the two-child benefit cap. The Institute for Fiscal Studies today says 250,000 more children will be hit by the policy if it stays in place over the next year. And Shadow Paymaster General Jonathan Ashworth joins us now from Westminster. Mr Ashworth, it's quite hard to get an issue which unites Gordon Brown, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Nigel Farage and Suella Braverman. All four of them say that George Osborne's two-child policy should be scrapped because, as the Institute for Fiscal Studies said, it will lead to rising child poverty in the next year. Hundreds of thousands more poor families losing £4,000 a year because of this two-child cap if they got more than two kids. You called the policy vicious. You said it was a heinous policy. I mean, what's Labour for if it's not for tackling child poverty? Why is this not in the manifesto?
Well, of course, my views on that policy are well known and long-standing. You've just quoted back at me how I've described it in colourful language in the past. But equally, what will do nothing to help alleviate child poverty in this country is for politicians to make unfunded, unaffordable spending commitments. That would lead to playing fast and loose with the public finances, as Liz Truss did, which of course wrecks the economy and puts pressure on inflation and in turn the Bank of England to put up mortgage rates and rent rates. Our plan is to grow the economy so families across the country are better off by investing in good, well-paid jobs. We've got a plan today to create 650,000 good, well-paid jobs. We've got a plan to help people return to work with significant welfare reforms. We've got a plan to expand childcare to help parents return to work because we know that many of the children growing up in poverty, such as in my own Leicester constituency where we have a very high level of child poverty, it's often people in work who've seen their wages squeezed or who are not able to work the extra hours because of the cost of childcare who are in poverty. So we do have a child poverty strategy.
Of course.
We're very committed to tackling child poverty. I'm passionate about tackling child poverty. It's one of the reasons I'm in politics.
But the IFS say that your child poverty strategy is going to mean child poverty goes up next year and the year after because you're not scrapping this policy. Isn't politics about choices? In the manifesto, you are spending billions of pounds in a costed way with tax rises. You've just decided not to spend. It's not a priority to tackle the vicious, heinous thing. It just feels as though child poverty just didn't quite make the cut compared to childcare or dentistry or waiting times. Is that really the right choice?
Well, of course, the IFS is making an assessment based on the interaction of the tax and benefit system. They're not looking at the bigger picture of how we're going to grow the economy when we've had paltry growth for these last 14 years and how we're going to create good, well-paid jobs, how we're going to build more houses, which will help people get on the housing ladder, how we're going to expand childcare, how we're going to invest in skills and training so people can move into these well-paid jobs. There's more than one way to skin a cat, if I can put it in those terms.
But Jonathan Ashworth, a lot of the people who are affected by this policy are in work and they're already working. They may already be able to have organised childcare. The trouble is, the Child Poverty Action Group says the two-child limit, more than any other policy, has driven child poverty to record levels. These people who are affected can't wait for growth, which you have your fingers crossed to achieve. Angela Rayner says it is obscene and inhumane. And Keir Starmer, back in 2020, said he would scrap it. Well,
if I may say so with the greatest of respect, our plan for growth isn't about crossing our fingers. Our plan for growth is an industrial plan, which we're talking about today, to create 650,000 good, well-paid jobs. For example, jobs in clean green steel. That will help families in Cardiff, Port Talbot, Sheffield, Rotherham, families to get people to get good, well-paid jobs in those areas. It'll involve investment in electric vehicle manufacture. Again, good, well-paid jobs.
Yeah, but the point is that a lot of people are already working. They don't need jobs in Port Talbot, they need a lift on the two-child benefit cap.
But if I may say so, one of the drivers of child poverty in this country is low wages and the lack of good jobs. So you need to support people to increase their hours in the first place. That's part of childcare. And you need to support people to move into good, well-paid jobs. That involves our skills plan, which we have got, but it also involves creating those good, well-paid jobs so they're there for people, which is what we're talking about today. So under Labour, you will be better off because we're going to create good, well-paid jobs. And, of course, our green industrial plan means we'll bring down energy bills as well, because the big spike in energy bills under the Conservatives is also a driver of poverty. Unless
you've got 3 kids, Jonathan Ashworth, and then the IFS says you're going to be £4,000 a year worse off if your third child is born on average because of losing those extra benefits for children because of the two-child policy. Are you ruling it out for the whole Parliament, or would you like, in the next Parliament, if Labour wins, to be able to remove a vicious and heinous policy?
We're not making spending commitments beyond what we've set out in our manifesto.
Would you like to do it in the next Parliament?
Our manifesto is fully costed. Look, we are not going to make the mistakes the Tories have made by publishing a whole litany of unfunded commitments. In the end, that makes the same mistakes that Liz Truss made. It leads to borrowing costs, putting pressure on the Bank of England and people's mortgages going up. Under the Tories, you'll be paying £4,800 more on your mortgage. We're not prepared to make those same mistakes that the Tories are making all over again.
But talking of mistakes, the Health Secretary, the Shadow Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, said yesterday that the Nuffield Trust are making a mistake. It sounds like you're making the same mistake in the assumption that this manifesto is the grand sum total of any future budgets and any future spending reviews. That's just wrong. That's not the way election campaigns work. Are you saying that the manifesto is the sum total of what Labour can do on child poverty in the next Parliament? Or are you saying that it would be possible, if the resources are there, to do as Wes Streeting says and go beyond the manifesto and abolish the two-child policy?
Look, we've got to be entirely straight with the British public. We've seen what happens when politicians play fast and loose with the finances. They make commitments which are unaffordable. We saw that with Liz Truss. Your viewers are paying more on their mortgage as a consequence of the decisions taken by the Tory party with Liz Truss. We're never going to make those same mistakes again.
But we're talking about child poverty. We're talking about children and families in need.
Yes, housing costs.
We're not talking about, cutting taxes for those at the top end of the wage scale. But we're talking about people who are struggling to feed their children.
Exactly. And one of the reasons that people are facing hardship is because of the huge increases in rent and their mortgages as a result of decisions taken by the Conservatives. We are not going to make the same mistakes again.
Are you ruling out scrapping the two-child benefit cap across the whole of a Labour Parliament, first Parliament, if you win?
We have a strategy. We will put in place an ambitious child poverty strategy. And as I say, tackling child poverty is not just about the benefit system. It's about good, well-paid jobs. It's about housing costs. It's about energy bills. And we have a plan to bring energy bills down.
Is that so you are ruling it out? You're not going to lift the benefit cap if you get into government in your first 5 years?
We have been crystal clear that we are making commitments which are fully funded and affordable.
OK, so you're ruling out lifting that to
We have not made a commitment. We have not made a commitment on this particular benefit change.
Okay. So what did Wes Streeting mean then? When he said the manifesto is not the grand sum total of any future budgets and any spending reviews, I mean, what does he mean?
Well, he's making the point that if we had better economic growth in this country, we've had paltry growth, anaemic growth these last 14 years. If we had the levels of growth that we had when you were in the Treasury, Ed, there would have been billions more spent on public services. But
so why won't you say to us now, if there is better economic growth, then we'll scrap the two-child policy?
Because we are making it very clear that all of our commitments are fully funded and costed. We are not making unfunded commitments. That's what the Tory party are doing in the election campaign. If they want to make all the same mistakes Liz Truss made, with all the pressure that puts on mortgages, that's up to them. We don't believe it's right to put rents up and mortgages up because politicians play fast and loose with the public finances. That's the difference with us. We saw what happened with Liz Truss and the Conservatives. The Tory plan will put up mortgages by £4,800.
Yeah, OK, you've repeated that point.
We're going to be...
Yeah. But it is... OK, we're being shouted at to let you go, Jonathan Ashworth.
Oh,
but
no,
it is just extraordinary, I think, to Labour voters when it's been described as obscene, inhumane, punitive, vicious and heinous.
By you?
By you, the leader and the deputy leader, that you are comparing it to Liz Truss. I mean, this would seem to us to be a core Labour policy. But you've said it's going to stay and you want to be crystal clear about that. Thank you very much indeed.
Kevin, first of all, Jonathan Ashworth's interview.
I've never seen him look so awkward, stony-faced. His nickname, Jonathan Ashworth, is Sparkle, sparkly personality. He wasn't there at all because he
was the Labour representative out this morning and we pressed him on a big issue for Labour, the two-child benefit cap.
Yeah, which is called heinous.
He's also called it vicious.
And Labour's not pledging to get rid of it. He knows the cap is wrong. And what's happened is Labour's come up with what they think is a bomb-proof manifesto to stop Tory attacks on how you're going to pay for this. You will raise tax. So they've gone for caution over change because that cap will have to go. I think it will go over the life of a parliament if Labour is elected, but he knows it's a single measure that gets kids out of poverty.
Some Labour MPs say this will cause starvation. Labour MPs were saying it openly, including members of what are going to be the cabinet. He believes it himself. He said it's
vicious, it should go,
and cruel and inhumane.
But he can't say
and
it
yet
should
he's
go.
defending it.
Angela Rayner has previously called it obscene.
In the debate the other week when she was on television, Maguire and I both agree that was her most uncomfortable moment when she was asked about that.
So this is what John Ashworth said to us this morning. You're not going to lift the benefit cap if you get into government in your first 5 years.
We have been crystal clear that we are making commitments which are fully funded and affordable.
OK, so you're ruling out lifting that to
We have not made a commitment.
Cap.
We have not made a commitment on this particular benefit change.
Okay. Meanwhile, we then speak to Grant Shapps for the Conservatives. I think he's one of 5 regular appearances on the programme because we don't see Rishi Sunak on Good Morning Britain. And we haven't seen the Chancellor for a long time either. Grant Shapps there this morning, but he struggled, Ed, on a manifesto commitment, didn't he? The National Service commitment.
Yeah, well, he confused us last week when he said it wasn't 30,000 18-year-olds going into national service for 12 months. He said it was going to be effectively 25 days. Really? Ed challenges him today. No, it is a year, but they're only going to need accommodation for 25 days. How does that work? What, are they on day release? But he also couldn't fund it. And there he is accusing Labour of not having funded commitments, and he couldn't say how much it was going to cost.
I think we can play...
impressive.
I think we can play that clip.
Yeah.
Well, the cost of the policy overall is contained within the money that we put forward for this, which is to use money from both the kind of levelling up fund, but also from tax avoidance evasion. So
how much?
We'll put all of that together. It comes into several billions. I haven't got the exact number.
Several billions?
But it comes to 7 billions. Yeah.
Gosh.
In total for the total programme.
So several billions, but you don't know how much?
Sorry, I haven't got the number right in front of me this second.
I'm never sure if several is 2, 3 or 4.
It's 2.5.
It's 2, it's a couple.
They said 2.5 in their manifesto.
Yeah.
Labour said it'll cost more. The MOD doesn't want it, but he is the Defence Secretary. He should know that. I think it's fair enough if you ask the Defence Secretary, maybe something over housing may not be entirely because he is the Defence Secretary. It shows you how, 1, it's a gimmick, and 2, it's backfired.
I actually think it's a popular policy, actually. I think it's popular with certain...
not with the generals.
But not with the generals.
Not with the military.
Yeah, but actually... It's
not with the people who'd have to do it.
It's not a bad ambition to get 30,000 kids who otherwise might not be doing anything into the army for a year. Why not?
If you're going to do that, you've already got the cadet corps, you've got Sea Scouts. You could do it already. You could give them money.
Yeah, but this is to get the 18... We've got too many 18-year-olds not in training, employment or work.
But, yeah, what are you going to do about those who are in work?
But I would rather the Defence Secretary
was able...
I would rather the Defence Secretary knew how much it would cost.
It's popular with people who don't have
as he began the interview saying that Labour's sums didn't add up and things weren't fully costed.
Did you not use the expression glass houses?
I didn't think it was a glorious day
for either of them.
Absolutely.
Although I would say, if I was scoring it, I would say Labour's Jonathan Ashworth had a hideous experience with you guys this morning because he just can't bear that.
It just feels like a core Labour value that they're not going to stand by.
Which he was right about in his column today.
Absolutely. I've long said the cap is terrible. But it was interesting. In his answer to you, he says, we're not committing. which doesn't mean they might not during
But you know what annoys me about that, Kevin?
Oh,
they
be
keep
honest.
saying we're being crystal clear.
And they're not.
When they're not.
It's as clear as mud.